What's up, guys? I'm Marnique Rogers, the author of Now That I Have Your Attention, a book surrounding the topic of mental health, where I talk about my own battle with depression, my healing process, and my own problematic defense mechanisms. You could buy the book on Amazon, or if you have Kindle, you can get it for much cheaper if you have Kindle. But lately, a lot of celebrities been coming forward with their stories about depression, and it's been a topic for about 3 to 4 months now, and I'm so elated because I wrote my book about a year ago, and I was so nervous about coming forward with my own story and my own healing process, and talking about the things that I've discovered during the healing process, and how basically we're all affected by the psyche of someone else, and then you don't know how their psyche is. And I talk about society. I'll go into detail about that in my last 2 videos, so make sure you guys check that out. But recently, Pete Davidson tweeted something, and his friends ran out to go check on him, and it kind of started a conversation about people weaponizing mental health and kind of using it as an excuse. It's just so many topics about it, but we need to, because for me, and I'll talk about this in my last 2 videos, society is the #1, if not the biggest mental abuser, and it affects us directly with its standards of beauty and its standards of happiness. A lot of people ask me my opinion on Kanye West because I talk about mental health so heavily, and my opinion, being someone who battled with depression, one of my defense mechanisms was reaction formation. I think Kanye West is going through reaction formation without a doubt. For those of you who don't know what reaction formation is having your suppressed feelings or wishes acted out in a conscious way, contradictingly. So for example, when we were younger and your crush or whatever, you used to hit your crush or your crush used to hit you, they're acting out how they feel in a conscious but contradictory way. And he's been showing signs of this, I feel like, since his mother passed away. And an example of that is, we all know that his mother passed away via undergoing plastic surgery. And then he turns around and marries someone who is known to have plastic surgery done. Then he's known for the infamous Bush doesn't like black people, and then he turns around and sits with the President of the United States, who has openly expressed his feelings towards minorities, and want to say that he's his friend and all kinds of stuff. And a lot of people say that, you know, Kanye West is full of shit when he does that, but reaction formation is a defense mechanism when you're going through something like that mentally, because he acts out in such a weird way when we know of him being mentally stable. He felt one way about things, and now that, you know, he's been open about his depression, and when he started being depressed, everything is starting to make sense in terms of going through reaction formation. I remember him tweeting or putting on Instagram, one of those things, how people need to stop bullying each other, and how we have to stop judging people based off our looks, and not to bring up his wife or try to demonize her. he's married into a family where they capitalize off of looks and being pretty and being trendy and, you know, everything that society tells us that happiness is. And in my opinion, those two mindsets is just unhealthy, because he's dealing with one thing and then she's dealing with another. I feel like being overtly obsessed with the way you look, changing how you look naturally, is a reflection of your own insecurities, which we all have, and unfortunately society enables it. So I blame society. I blame the mindsets of shallow people and the mindsets of superficial people, because everybody hasn't figured out that happiness is a choice instead of a result. So they see these celebrities, they listen to all these songs that suggest that you won't be happy until you've done this, that, and that, until you look like this, and that. And honestly, we're all victims to it. Even the Kardashian family. And, you know, people have a lot to say about them, and to some degree, I agree, but I don't feel like their intentions are bad. They look like very sweet people, but it is a repeat of history as far as capitalizing off of trends or other cultures. And I feel like for them it's more about the money on top of a reflection of their insecurities. And it's up to us and other celebrities to make people feel comfortable with themselves naturally. I know people who will spend their last, don't have food in their fridge, just to change the way they look, and then still find themselves unhappy, thinking that, okay, if I have a bigger this or more of that, I'm gonna be happy. And it's very abusive mentally. But I only say that to say that those two mindsets is very unhealthy. And I feel like that environment where he's surrounded by a family who makes money from looking a certain type of way, being a certain type of way, acting a certain type of way, I feel like that does nothing for someone who is obviously having identity crisis. And I feel like he needs to go somewhere and heal. And I don't know. My healing process was me doing something very daring, and then I kind of asked God to make something happen for me that normally will be unrealistic, and I kind of tested him in that way, so he could let me know that, okay, everything is going to be okay, you know, after you finally face everything that you've been going through. And it came to pass. And I know you're not supposed to test God, but I was in desperation and I've hit rock bottom. So I'm like, alright, it kind of made me more comfortable, and it made me feel safe to actually face the things that I went through. And I went somewhere quietly for a couple of days, like maybe like 7 days. I went to Ohio where my dad lives, and my dad works at 2 different airlines. So he's like a workaholic. He only gets like 3 hours of sleep, so I know I want to see him. And I kind of spread it out like some boards, and I kind of made a vision board, and I divided it in 3 sections, and I just faced everything that I went through. And if you're not in a place where you're ready to heal, then you're gonna just be more focused on feeling better, which is why for me, I do not recommend pills for depression, because you're not dealing with the things that made you depressed in the first place. And then you're going to be dependent on a pill to make you feel better, which isn't going to help. So that would be my suggestion to anybody facing depression or any type of mental illness, is to figure out the cause of it, to talk about anything that might trigger it, to identify the defense mechanisms, because defense mechanisms can be very problematic. Like, reaction formation was definitely something very problematic for me, because I talk about being sexually abused when I was younger, and as I got older and I was dating people, my sexual experiences would be crazy, because I would freak out in the beginning if somebody was trying to touch me, but then I would try to be like extremely freaky or something like that, so it will kind of mask the way I was really feeling inside. And I had freaking insecurities about the way I looked, and I was fine, first of all, but I wanted a bare butt. I had, my hair is a nice length, but of course you always want more than what you got. And I really felt like that's what happiness looked like. I really used those type of things, and I saw other people doing it, and I'm already feeling crazy inside, and I see people smiling, and then these people that's smiling and happy all the time, you feel like it's because of what they have or how they look. And then I really start to realize that happiness is a choice and not a result. And music, just to get back on the topic of music, sorry, my little sister in here watching something crazy, but just to get on the topic of music, I'm sorry you guys. Music was one of our first ways of communicating. In my first video, I talk about Africa, ancient Africa, and kind of the beginning of people and mankind. And one of the first ways that they communicate with each other was music and dance, before there was actually a language. And now people would say it's interpretive dancing or something like that, but that was a way of communicating. And hip hop and things like that was always kind of like a scapegoat for people going through things mentally, and talking about problems that they dealt with growing up in certain places, cries for help. And I feel like in today's music, it's more of people kind of setting the standard or setting the tone of, alright, well, for those same people who grown up in these same areas or facing these same problems, the only way you could be happy is if you have this amount of money and your hair look this type of way and your body is this, and that's how you're gonna get a man, and this is how you're gonna get a girl, and this is how you guys can be a power couple. And honestly, it needs to stop. Like, and don't get me wrong, I understand like people need to be secure within themselves so they won't take nothing like that literally, because at the end of the day it is just a song. But that is how people receive information. As a human, you're always, everything that you do is to escape pain, is to not feel a bad feeling anymore. You eat to not be hungry, you drink to not be thirsty, you go to work to not be broke. So everything we do is to escape some type of pain. And then when you're surrounded by superficial psyches and things that you probably can't do, you start to have depressed feelings. So I feel like there needs to be more positiveness in music. It needs to be more people accepting the way they look naturally. Like I said, to each his own, because Lord knows I love me a good way.